Welcome, guys. So, this is now the second episode of the series of the chess, and the first got uploaded in the morning. And I see a very nice positive response from the people who have watched it. And if you haven't still watched it, I'll provide a link in the description, and so you can start your chess basics from there. And without further delay, we will continue to our second episode from where we left off in the first one. So the idea was we were discussing on how a chessboard is and what are the basic type of pieces and how each piece moves. So in the last first episode, I covered on how a pawn moves. Now we will see on the second piece, and the only second piece which can open a game other than the pawn. So we will talk about today the very important piece in the game, which is called knight. So let me start a new game. Again, I'll just start a 30-minute game so that we have enough time to talk about it. So let me just start it. Also, do let me know about your feedback in case you have any questions, in case you want to suggest something on how you want to learn this. Do you want me to apply any new methodology of teaching the chess or something? Then I'll be more than happy to do so. Okay, so let's start. So now again, as usual, because I'm white, so I have to make the first move. So where we left off yesterday is oh sorry, in the first video, which was in the morning, is pawn making a move. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with a knight. Okay, now if you very clearly see how a knight have moved, is basically always it takes 2.5 steps. Now why we say half? Because it's kind of a notation which we follow, saying that it moves two in one direction, and although it moves one in another direction, but it's kind of combined, we say 2.5. Or maybe if you don't want to follow that notation, it's also fine. You can simply remember that it always goes two in a particular direction and one perpendicular to it. Okay, so I have put it two in this direction, if you see. Okay, and then one in this direction. Although what I could have done is, instead of this, I could have gone this side as well. So that was another possible move. Okay, so for example, now he has moved pawn, and whether it's a good opening or whether it's not, and all those we'll cover later, so you don't have to worry about all those details. But whenever you see a game in any of these episodes, try to remember everything we have covered in the previous one. So in the previous one, we saw how a pawn moves. A pawn can move two steps or a single step. So what his opponent has done is basically moved his one or two pawns in the first attempt two steps. So this basically is what we covered last. And now we are going to basically take the other knight and move it to so we can move it this side also, we can move it that side also, and then so this time, let's, because we used the other knight in the left hand side, let's move it to the right hand side this time. Okay, so this is basically how a knight moves. So now you have understood. Now I'll show you some further moves so that you know, like, basically what exactly I mean by the movement. So see, they are also moving the knight. Now understand the critical points. It, for example, if you have to move the pawn anywhere, the places should be empty. Okay, for example, this guy, when moved the pawn, the other two places in front of it were empty. Now for example, what I meant to say is that this pawn could have made two steps, but right now, since a knight is placed, it can't move, so it's basically blocked. Okay, but why I am talking about this is because if you take a knight, it doesn't apply to that case. The only thing which needs to be empty is the destination square. Okay, so basically when I move the knight from here to here, I don't care whether there is a pawn in between. It doesn't matter, as long as the destination is empty. Even if here would have been another piece, I don't care. As long as the destination is empty, it's a valid move. Now what I can do is in this I can move it back. So in case of pawns, when we can only move forward, in knight no such rule apply. Even a very interesting point, which in case somebody is from computer science background or just like interested in riddles and puzzles, there's a very big, nice and awesome thing which is called a knight's tour, which you can google or try to read about it anywhere. It basically says that a knight can basically travel to all the 64 squares on the board in a loop. So basically, I would not be traveling the same square again, and then I can just keep on wandering. So for example, if I have to just say like, okay, here, then here, then here, then here, then here, then here, like that. So I can keep on moving, and there's a very nice way on how it is achieved. It's not that straightforward, but yeah, you can do so. So that's one important fact about the knight, that knight can actually go to every square. And one more thing which is very nicely put in a way is that the knight always changes the color on which it is placed in every move. So for example, the knight was on a black square. Once it moved, it came to the white square. It applies in every move wherever you move. Now the one more thing, so when I said 2.5 steps, I moved all in the both the cases, and even the opponent moved like two in this direction, in the column direction, and one in the row direction. But it's not the usual, I mean, it's not a mandatory rule or anything. So for example, now the knight is here. If I want to move, like, I have to just figure out which direction I am making two steps. It could be this direction, it could be this direction, it could be this direction, it could as well be this direction. Now you will say, oh, why it's all blocked? No, remember, it's the destination. So if I move two in this direction, it could be one in this direction, one in this direction, but since here is the thing already placed, I can move in this direction, so I can still come back here. But let's try something else. So for example, if I take this direction, okay, there are 1, 2, and there's 3. So remember, right now it's on the white and it will go to black. So it's just a good check that, okay, I'm going the correct way. You can basically check whether you have, although it's very simple, it's very straightforward, but you can't be having a knight move from a same colored square to a same colored square. That's one basic check. Okay, so now I move here. Okay, so that is one move. Now if just to give you like an idea, I can move this knight here, this knight here, or maybe here back, or maybe here also. Now how it's here, like 2 steps this way, 1 step this way. Okay, and I can move this knight now because it is here. The possible squares where it can all go is this, 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 sorry, this, 2 step, 1 step, 2 step, 1 step. Now can I go 2 step, 1 step? No, because this is blocked. So this is how it is. Okay, so this is the basic knight movement. So knight is the only piece other than the pawn which can open the game. In fact, what you can do is basically open the game with a knight and keep just shuffling between these two squares. Who cares? But we will soon realize why it's a bad way to go about in the game, because you will definitely, I mean, not definitely, it depends on how good the opponent is, but most of the times you will end up on the losing side because it's a very bad technique to follow. Okay, so this is one thing. And now, so this basically covers the knight movement. Now the way we talked about the pawn capturing the diagonal, the knight also captures if there is something on the destination square. It's as simple as that. For example, if I somehow end up, let's say, okay, not somehow, if let's say next move I play here, okay, and okay, for example, I'm just giving an example, next play I move here, okay. Now if I see, okay, now if, okay, ignore this part. This is one of the pre-moves which I'll explain in the later video why the knight went there, because I happened to just leave the cursor there and it pre-moved. So that's just setting. Now what I'm saying is, like, if I move here, okay, then the next move I can take this pawn Now, whether it's a good move to take the pawn or not, that's not none of our concern right now. We're just trying to understand how a knight capture. So knight can capture anything which is placed, obviously of the opponents, not our own, our opponent's piece on the destination square. If it is our own piece on the destination square, basically it's blocked. It can't go there. As simple as that. For example, this knight can't go here, this knight can't go here, but it can go every other place where it is having 2.5 steps. But point is, particularly this place, there's an opponent piece. So I can go ahead and capture it. But what will happen? Just to give you an example, like if you remember what I taught in the first episode, when an pawn capture the other piece, when something is in one step diagonal to it. So identify, pause the video here if you want to figure out, and identify a pawn which can capture something if I happen to make this move. Okay, so go ahead, pause it. It's a very simple thing, but it will be a good idea if you pause it and do it by yourself. Okay, guys, so if you have been able to do it, it's well and fine. If you're not, it's okay because you're just learning. It will come eventually very easily. So what will happen if I do this? Okay, this is the pawn which has my knight in one step diagonal, and ideally in all possible scenarios, as you can see in live stream itself, that opponent captured it because it was very obvious move. So now are we in a very good position? No, we are in the one of the worst positions right now, but we can happen to play on from here. But the idea is more about teaching you how things will happen with knights around. You have a lot of movement which is possible because knights are those pieces which can literally move in every direction. And as I told you, knight is the only piece which can cover all the, not the only piece. Basically, there are other pieces which can cover each square of the board, but knight is one of those superior powerful pieces which, even if you are lagging sometimes in the game, they can be really dangerous to opponents sometimes. And I'll show you the examples even by playing you with them in the real matches on how it's very important. So I think that should be sufficient for right now on how we have discussed all this movement around the night. And then the next video we will learn about the notation of the chessboard. So that will be it for the second episode. I think we have covered a good time around the night movement, so you should be comfortable itself. Like what you can do is you can go ahead on the chess.com and start playing for yourself. Don't worry about whether you are making a move or whether you are making a bad move. It doesn't matter as of now. You just need to figure out the valid moves. On the chess.com has a setting where you will click a piece and it will tell you what are the valid moves are. But idea should be that you figure out that on your own, because in the real matches you don't get that option. And then, I mean, obviously you can get the option of valid moves, but when you're playing over the board, or when you want to understand like what is the point of which move and all that, it should be better technique to do that in your brain rather than visually seeing it and then taking a decision. So that should be the idea. And so with that, I would be closing this episode, and then we will meet in the next one where we will discuss about the board structure and what is the notation on how we can basically nomenclature each move, and how we move the other pieces we'll take in the further episode. So do let me know your feedback. Do like, share, and subscribe, and press the bell icon so that you will know when the next episode is there, and it will be in very quickly because I want people to just grasp it and keep learning and keep it as easy as possible. So thanks a lot, guys, and have a good day. Bye bye.